Hey guys, this morning I had the honor and privilege of sitting down with Ryan Walker from Walker Mowers for Going Green, brought to you by Lawn Buddy. It was amazing. I'm really looking forward to you guys watching this. Before we dive into it, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get more of this content. We have a bunch more folks that are coming on to bring you information about your industry. All right, guys, let's get into it. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for jumping on early this morning with us. We have probably one of my favorite guests to join us during the show, Ryan with Walker Mowers. So Ryan, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
It's nice to be on, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So what was it, about two years ago? I think we got the privilege, my business partner Phil and I, to drive up to Fort Collins, meet you and Bob, and take a tour of your facility. So I know kind of a lot of your rich background in the industry, but for those of us who don't, or maybe new to Walker, which if you're new to Walker, then where have you been? But could you walk them through kind of how Walker got started and what moved you guys to Fort Collins?
Yeah, my grandparents were a part of a farming family in Southwest Kansas, and as my grandparents, my grandpa was working with his brothers and his father on a farm, and he had a passion for machines, and he also saw the family farm as they were going to struggle for that farm to continue to support more and more people as their family was growing. And that combined with just a passion for machinery and machinery design, my grandpa started designing different types of equipment, a golf car, and we call it the power truck, but it's a kind of a 4-season all year utility vehicle. And through those different products and struggling with starting business and trying to do the startup cycle with cash flow and funding and product development, and trying to do a lot of that himself. The businesses were, I guess, successful to certain degrees, but never really viable. And so through a number of events and circumstances, one of those being Walker Manufacturing failing and declaring bankruptcy in the late 60s, early 70s. My grandpa and my grandparents had an opportunity to work with a company in Greeley, Colorado. And my dad and my grandpa designed a evaporative tractor cab cooler for this company that brought my grandparents back into manufacturing, into a position where they could have assets and tools and have facilities to actually start manufacturing again. And so through designing this evaporative tractor cab cooler and then selling that design back to the company who had charged them to do this work, they were able to get back into manufacturing. So we were a contract manufacturing company starting in 1973, and that lasted, or 1971, excuse me, and that lasted till 1983, designing and manufacturing evaporative tractor cab coolers and swamp coolers for homes that would mount on roofs. And so in 1975, both Dean, my dad, and Bob, my uncle, came back to the business. Bob had been working as an engineer at Cessna Aircraft Company, and my dad graduated from college in 1975, and they both came back and started working with Max and Margaret, my grandparents, in the tractor cab cooler business. In 1977, they had a desire to tinker, to design, this whole quest to build machines that help them and that would help others. In 1977, they bought a couple commercial, really residential focused ride-on lawnmowers. to replace their push mowers, and they realized that they were no better off. They didn't save time. It wasn't that much less effort to mow their property with this ride-on lawnmower. And there's a rear engine transmission, kind of shifting transmission, steering wheel type machine. And so they started designing lawnmowers in 1977, 1978, and 1979. They designed 3 prototypes, 1 per year. And by 1979, they had a machine that was functioning and what looks very similar to our present day walker mower. And so that started the journey. In 1980, started very short run manufacturing. We built 20 machines in 1980. And by 1983, we had lost the contract to build evaporative tractor cab coolers. In 1983, started walker manufacturing, building the walker mower full time. It was also the year that I was born, so
there you go.
Some connection there. So 1983, we built and sold 400 lawnmowers, and as Bob has looked back at those books and the records that were kept, we marvel at the ability and the provision, the divine provision really on the business to turn money efficiently enough to pay our bills in that year. And things were very, very tight, but the business is blessed, has been blessed, and just that 1983 was a pivotal year for the business. So 37 years later, being a full-time lawnmower manufacturer, but really 43 years on this journey of developing the walker mower and trying to perfect this machine that we're so focused on and passionate about, and a machine that has provided so much for Walker Manufacturing Company, for our family, but really the joy of all of this for us is the opportunity that the walker mower has provided to ultimately the end user who's going out and cutting lawns with this and removing snow with it, and actually in the marketplace putting the machine to work, but also our supply chain and the employees obviously here at the factory, but our distributors and our dealers and the people who support the product in a number of ways. That opportunity is really multifaceted and multiplied through the duration of the product as it has been designed and manufactured for 47 years. So that's a little bit how we got here. It's really my grandparents taking a huge risk and moving off the farm was the headwaters of this entire journey. And it's an awesome story to think about what they did and the risk that they took and hauled their family away from the farm to pursue this calling that was on my grandpa's life, my grandparents' life. Yeah.
So truly betting the farm to achieve their dream. So
yeah, betting their livelihood. I don't know. I mean, at one point they lost everything to that bankruptcy. Walker Manufacturing Company was sold before it went bankrupt. My grandparents were having trouble finding funding to grow their business, and so they sold Walker Manufacturing Company. My grandpa stayed on as a general manager, but the new owners were harvesting the earnings and the capital out of the business. They were strangling the business, and ultimately led to bankruptcy. And so through that, even though they had sold the business, through that, my grandparents lost their income. My grandpa lost his job.
Mm-hmm.
And but then the tools that he had acquired and that he had sold to this group of investors, those tools were now literally locked up in a facility. The bank owned them. And so this opportunity with BICO to develop an evaporative tractor cab cooler, when they were able to develop that and sell that design back to BICO, as the agreement had stated, my grandpa was able to go pay off the debt from the previous bankruptcy, go buy his tools back from the bank, and start Walker Manufacturing Company again with a fresh start. And here we are today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And for those of you who haven't had the privilege to meet you or your family, I have to say, I have to tell a quick story really quick. About 2 years ago, on a whim, we were going to be driving through Fort Collins, and I had a friend of a friend who met Bob at a college seminar, and so I was like, I'm just going to send him an email and see if we can stop by and just meet everyone and see the facility. And not only did Bob respond, but then I got to meet yourself, Bob, I believe some of your other family members, and we went on a tour of the entire facility, which is mind blowing. And if you ever get the chance to stop in Fort Collins, you have to go there. They even have a little museum with some of those first renditions. I think the golf cart is still there, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So it was fantastic. But speaking of operations and just the manufacturing in general, it's mind blowing to see how much stuff is made at your facility. Can you kind of walk us through the operations and manufacturing changes that you did as you went from manufacturing those evaporation coolers to when then you were born, and then your rise to kind of now taking over Walker as that leadership role?
So let's start kind of on the operation side. We really have a desire to vertically integrate where it makes sense for us to do so. We're obsessive about quality and consistency with our product, and to do that, I think another very important, I guess, motivation for us is that we also really, I don't know, we're focused on, and we have a desire to implement changes quickly that are an obvious benefit to the product, ultimately to the value of the machine. So for example, if we're having an issue in the field, because we insource, because we're vertically integrated, we can take the solution to market quickly. And so for multiple reasons, we are very aggressively learning new skills and new abilities, trying to gain expertise in what manufacturing and assembly means. And so generally, if it's made out of metal, we are going to, that's our core competency, is metal fabrication and processing. And so we get raw materials through the door, everything from raw steel, like sheet steel, bar stock, to engine, seats, tires. Those we buy a lot of components for the lawnmower, but the design of the machine, the metal that machine is made out of, the Walker mower, we love that work. That's what we do. And so metal fabrication, that process from flat sheet and bar stock all the way through the lawnmower driving out the back of the factory, we're continuously trying to learn how we can do the different aspects of the machine more thoroughly. And I don't know, we have a really independent culture. Not that we're standoffish at all. We just, after losing the business, after that failure and going bankrupt, selling the business first, but then losing the business through that bankruptcy, we learned from that. And it's something that kind of has stayed with us through the generations now. And the core of that is that when we make a promise, implied or not, very specific promise, if we're independently owned, family held, we can ultimately keep those promises. So symbolically, the more that we control, the more that we do ourselves, the more that we have our hands on, that gives us an ability to ultimately keep our promise. And that's a core desire in Walker Manufacturing Company. So, we're also very curious people. We just keep asking questions about how can we be better, and how can we make the lawnmower better for our customers? How can we treat our supply chain better? How can we be a better customer for Kohler and Briggs, and go down the list, our wiring, our wire harness supply company? How can we be better for those people? And then how can we be better for our customers? And so it's a continual quest, but operationally, we just have a really awesome team of people on the shop floor who continue to bring ideas to the table and implement strategies that provide solutions and make this place a more efficient and more productive, more consistent place for people to work, and for the machines that leave this place. So yeah, a lot of technology being integrated. I think that has to happen, and it's good for us. It's good for our people. It's good for the quality of the Walker mower, and it's a fun. We are a manufacturing business, and every time I walk through the shop door and go and walk through the factory, go work on the factory floor, whatever it is, to spend time seeing machines being made is something that just gets us energized over and over and over again. So,
yep. And for those of you, when he was talking about taking the bar stock and the sheet metal and then driving it out the back door, it's 100% real. It's one of the coolest manufacturing experiences I've been able to have and take a tour of. My business partner and CTO, Phil Matthews, is an all-time favorite. So that's a huge accolade from him. But it is fantastic what you guys are doing there. And you can tell that company culture too, the pride that they take in the manufacturing process, and the end result is unbelievable. So congratulations on that. That's really good. And I think that kind of leads into the next question I have for you, and kind of answers a little bit. But in the manufacturing world for the grain industry, I feel like there's not a lot of new competition, but there is new competition that's popping up. But how do you kind of stay out ahead of the other manufacturers in the industry, and kind of what are Walker's eyes set on the future?
Yeah. Our industry is very competitive. It's also one of, I think, we cherish the competition, the other brands, and the culture of our industry. It's just something that we look at, look at other industries, and they're so I don't know, they're bureaucratic and regulated and consolidated, really. This idea that when we regulate, the big get bigger and the small struggle to meet those regulations or stay relevant through that process of trying to compete, while also being limited by regulatory burden. And our industry has really, to a large extent, avoided that. I mean, we need safe machines, and we need machines that are efficient to operate. And yet we have an awesome industry that has provided a ton of opportunity to people. So whether that's red, green, yellow, whatever brand you're running, I think it's appropriate to just pause and to be thankful for the green industry, and selfishly, just the opportunities provided for my wife, myself, and I think that's, and then the tens of thousands of people that are also working in this space with us. And so, as we compete, the Walker mower is obviously a very different machine from the vast majority of lawnmowers being produced today. Essentially, the design of the typical lawnmower now is very commoditized. It's essentially the same. They're painted different colors. They're built in different factories, but But a mid-mount is a mid-mount, and a stand-on machine is a stand-on. They're square chassis style machines. The Walker Mower sits aside from that, and we have, and we're going to continue to. We believe deeply in the design and the principle design of what the Walker Mower is. And so as we pursue the Walker Mower, we're very aware of what's happening beside us in the industry. It really surrounds us. And yet, the biggest downside of the Walker Mower is the purchase price. And that's where so much of the industry has consolidated around this design that provides an advantage, a purchase price advantage. And that is a very relevant design goal. Yet, the long-term functionality and value of the Walker Mower is something that we believe leads to ultimate value for the customer. So we've kind of accepted the fact that we're going to be a more expensive and outlier on the dealer floor when the initial purchase is being made. But our hope is that we're also an outlier when it comes to the productivity and the value of the machine for that person who is willing to invest a little bit more money. Initially, they can reap that benefit and the value of that through the life of the machine. So the quest continues, and how we compete in the industry, we're fairly focused on what we do, and we want to do the Walker Mower better. And that's the next steps for Walker is to take the Walker Mower and continue to build it, continue to develop it. We haven't arrived. We're not quiet enough or light enough or fast enough, and we know that. And there's issues with the machine. No machine's perfect, and it gives us opportunity to pursue this, the design of the machine, and through that process, through iterative design and through refining and new product design, and we're going to continue to pursue the customer and the customer's needs. And I think if we keep that at the core, if we innovate and if we pursue the customer, those two things work hand in hand. And I think we'll be okay. And I'm hopeful that we can continue to be a very, maybe first and foremost, a dependable company to work with. And secondly, a company that designs a world-class lawnmower for people to earn a livelihood or to own with a lot of enjoyment and make their property and their customers' properties look absolutely phenomenal. So, that's I don't know. It's I love to compete. I love competition, and we're going to do that through innovating and through pursuing our customers.
Yeah, that was perfect, and I think that's one of the many reasons why I love Walker in general. Is just your mindset of playing the infinite game and providing value and innovation, and something we strive to do with our customers. I often say to folks who use other software is that it's just like some folks like different style T-shirts. If it's the job done, I'll help you any way I can, even if you're using someone else's software. But provide that value, that innovation, to where there's a mutual win-win from both products. And I think that you guys embody that, and it truly shows. Plus, when you have once they go Walker, it's like they have it tattooed on their heart somewhere. They'll throw everything else away and they just go buy all Walker. So and then they're ruined too. They can't ever have another mower. It's great. So
I also want to say we're the first to admit that the other machines on the market that are being sold, they're not bad machines. In fact, some of them are really impressive. I've spent a lot of time on competitive machines, and it's the Walker mower is not, it is not for everyone. And we understand that. But if we're doing our job, the Walker mower should be, and it is today. I think more people can help solve issues with the right tool. And in some of those cases, we hope a lot of those cases that the Walker mower can be that right tool. And yet, we're okay with people running other types of equipment because they are valid pieces of equipment. They are valid tools. And that's where that competition comes into play, where we can't just design and build a lawnmower. We have to go pursue the customer. And that, when we pursue the customer, that leads back to innovation. And it's this beautiful, self-perpetuating cycle that we pursue the customer. That leads to motivation to innovate. And that innovation then solves customers' problems again. And we can go round and round. And that's what the Walker mower has been doing for the last 43 years. So from where we were in 1977, when my dad and my grandpa and Bob were designing those first three machines, 77, 78, 79, to where we are today, the machine looks very similar. That core concept of what the Walker mower is the same. But as we've pursued our customer, as we've listened, taken that posture of trying to learn from our customers, that has made the product better, and it's iteratively better. We very rarely just clean sheet design. Here's a new product. We have taken the machine, and through that cycle of customer to innovation, the Walker mower has gotten substantially better. And it's through a lot of hard work by my father, specifically in his group of engineers. But it's really a lot of wonderful feedback and a lot of people investing in the machine and then being willing to talk with us about ideas and problems and potential solutions. And I think that's how we win, Stephen. It's not because we're going to have the answers to everyone's problems here. No, we need to go out and listen and pursue our customer. And based on that, we can get better, and that makes us more competitive ultimately.
Yep. I know a lot of people probably get sick of me saying this, especially our staff, but I truly believe that interaction leads to innovation.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what you guys are doing. So one of the things that I think is very unique about Walker mowers, outside of just the fantastic machinery you put out, but it's also the family aspect that's ingrained at the company. I mean, you go to the leadership page or even anywhere else, it's a flood of family names. So how do you guys keep that family style alive at Walker? And I know, especially as you look at family-owned businesses, you guys are doing really well as far as going from your grandparents to your parents and now to you guys. How do you keep that family aspect alive and well?
Every family and we're all unique people. It's one of the amazing aspects of humanity. And so every family is different too. And those dynamics are, you just can't put a formula in place that says, hey, here's success. But for us, for the Walker family, we have a core worldview that we share. And Bob and Dean, my older brother Ted, and myself, the four of us who work at Walker Manufacturing Company every day as owners, operators, leaders of the business. We don't disagree on the big issues of life. And that's something that I think is where most family businesses ultimately fail. I think there's some aspect that's rooted in selfishness that leads to distraction and, I don't know, I just speculate, because the issues that we have as a family and as an organization often are that same thing. And thankfully, that our human desire to, I don't know what it is, to be self-serving. But
Yep.
thankfully, Dean and Bob, my grandparents, live in a way that looks at other people's investment and other people's opportunity as much or more as they look at their own. And I'm the beneficiary of that. The way they coach me and the way that they invest in me is, I think, very rare. And so I think ultimately it is for us a biblical worldview that leads to a selflessness and a servant leadership that makes this whole thing possible. And that's for us, for our family. Other people are doing it their way, and that's something that they have to figure out. But I don't, I say it in family businesses, they're like most days, almost every day here is like the ride of a life. It is awesome to come to work and work with my family and to be in that environment. Now, that being said, the hard days are very hard, and it takes a level of maturity and unity to work through those hard days because they're dramatic. You layer family on top of the normal issues of working in a business and operating a business. It can get complicated, but we've made a commitment to each other and a covenant to never be divided. And we can disagree. We disagree a lot, but we will never be divided. And with that commitment and covenant in place, we can do really special things, knowing that we can dissent, we can disagree with each other, but we're stuck, and so we're gonna have to figure it out. And and that's a cool journey and a cool foundation to base decisions on.
Yep, that's fantastic, and I agree 100% with you. So as you're looking forward in 2020 and you're having that interaction with your customers to find out what drives your innovation, do you have any little nuggets for us on maybe what's next for Walker? Anything new, or just focusing on refining the product?
So something, a symbolic change that's happened is the Model R. We've developed and we're manufacturing kind of a prosumer grade Walker mower. And it takes our entry level price point from $9,000 in round numbers down to $6,000 in round number. And that's really, feedback from our dealer network that, hey, Walker, if Walker could provide a machine that wasn't as commercially oriented, but yet provided the same beautiful cut and that ownership experience that premium consumers, primarily residentially oriented folks, they want to be involved in the brand and with what the Walker mower is. Yet, sometimes, and like for my personal household, I probably couldn't convince Emily to let me go buy a commercial Walker mower, but now with the Model R, it's like I'm in the running now, and that's our motivation, is to expand the brand, make it more accessible. So we fully embrace that Walker mower. The Walker mower is kind of a niche in the marketplace. I said fully embrace and kind of in the same sentence. The Walker mower is a niche in the marketplace, but we don't want to be a scarce niche. We want to be an accessible niche, and we want to be a brand that people can be involved with at whatever level they choose. And so giving people choice is an important aspect of where we're headed. Big picture ideas. I think the quest of every machine is to be lighter and more durable. And those often are, opposing design results. But the the Model S, if you go study the Model S design, my dad, my brother, and their team did just some of what that machine is really special. And it's fast and light and quiet. Just as a point of reference, when we ship machines to Europe, we have to turn the RPM down pretty significantly to meet noise requirements in Europe. With the S18 matched with the new multi-deck, we call it the DU48-3. It's on walker.com. You can look it up, but it's a combination collection and side discharge deck, and you can switch between those functions. It's also belt driven, so most of our collection decks have timed gear driven blades, cutting blades that bring the grass to the center of the deck through counter rotating timed blades. And so our traditional and collection decks are amazing piece of equipment. Yet that gear train has some extra noise and it has some extra complexity. And if you hit stumps, stakes, they can be the weak link in that blade drive system. In most instances, never an issue, but it can be. And so listening to customers, hey, especially for fleet type operators, we need machines we can give to our workforce that can go out and they can deal with more abuse than our gear driven style decks. So the ability to collect grass with a belt drive deck has been a challenge, and over the past, really, it's been about a 10-year journey developing different types of belt driven collection decks. We have a deck now that is a really, really special deck that performs well. It's belt driven. It manicures properties. Like it is comparable to what the Walker mower has been. And then you can convert it to a side discharge deck and go mow the field in the back of a property that's just nasty, and do it with the same machine, the same deck, and kind of a 5-minute transition from collection to side discharge. So adding, I say all that to say, when that deck is on the front of an S18, we don't have a gearbox on that machine. And we can meet noise requirements in Europe we speculate we can. We've tested it. It looks really good, but we can meet that at full RPM or close to 3,650 RPM. So innovation like that, where we can make machines quieter, more durable, lighter, faster, that's where that's the pursuit, that the quest, the journey that we're on right now. And there's some obvious, I think, disruptive technology that's happening right now through electrification and battery, and that we're watching that very closely, working with our supply chain, and just it's a little bit of I think a lot of us are in a little bit of a waiting game, trying to figure out how do we do this without ultimately undermining our customers' intent in buying a better lawnmower that's not based on a bunch of proprietary and components that we're gonna have trouble supporting long term. And so we need to get to this place. We need to get to a point where both the economics and the performance of batteries are at a place that our customers can actually run the machine and be profitable with it. And then a machine that's serviceable, that is maintainable long term, that we have sustainability in that as well. So we're watching that closely, but we have our hands full. We're pursuing this especially around our grass handling machines that have the collection capability. We want to go faster and with less noise and less complexity in that whole system. And that's kind of where we're headed. And with the multi-deck combined with a faster machine that goes like 8 to 9 miles an hour, you probably can't collect and do a really good job at 9 miles an hour, but you could slow that machine down to 6.5 to 7, kind of typical Walker mower mowing speeds. And then when you convert it to a side discharge, you go out and run at 8 to 9 miles an hour and be competitive across multiple types of properties and even multiple types of equipment with a single Walker mower. The other cool thing about the Walker mower is that we have interchangeable decks, and so putting multiple decks on the front of a Walker mower for different purposes is something that we continue to pursue, develop, and so developing different styles of decks for different types of mowing is something that continues to happen. And we're excited about it. So developing the Model R further and developing the Model T and the Model C and the Model S, and trying to develop the ultimate lawnmower. And it's going to take a while, but it's really fun to pursue.
Yep. And one of the beautiful things, some instant feedback that we're in Sedgwick County in Wichita, Kansas, and so one of the things that's become more common is working from home, which is why you see a nice painted wall behind me instead of my office. But my beautiful wife also works directly over here. So, baby, you heard about the Model R. Can I get one? She smiled. So there you go.
It's a start, man. That's where you got to start.
Yeah, I'm either in trouble or
yeah.
No, and then that the side discharge, kind of that combo deck too. You guys unveiled that at GIE last year, right? Yeah, and I believe you walked me through just how quick it was to change from that, and it really is a really neat advancement for a Walker mower. So if you haven't checked it out, make sure you do that, and we'll link to all the stuff that we're talking about in the comments and in the emails we send out as well. So
something kind of cool about both the Model R that we've been discussing and this new multi-deck, and to circle back to how is the manufacturing continuing to develop. These new products are designed and tooled specifically for some of our most efficient operations in the factory. That's laser technology and very refined bin processes. But one of the cool things about these pieces of equipment is they're almost entirely robotically welded. The new DU multi-deck is a robotically welded deck. The Model R is 100% robotically welded, both the deck and the tractor. So we have some of the most skilled robotic operators that I'm aware of, and we integrate internally. We have an internal team that's tooling, that's developing the technology and integrating robotic welding into our operations, and that gives us higher quality and better repeatability in our processes, and better consistency for the customer. And that's been really exciting. We have 8 robotic welders running full time every day, and it's really neat to go back and see the group of people who are doing that work and gaining expertise in what it means to integrate technology into processes to make Walker manufacturing better, and ultimately the guys running those machines adding skills and abilities to their portfolio and their resume. And that's an exciting process and an exciting technology to be a part of.
Yep, absolutely. The one other thing I wanted to talk about too is you've recently changed roles or have been pushed forward a little bit more in leadership roles. And one of the very fun things is as a leader is navigating through COVID-19 and the pandemic. So maybe walk us through kind of your transition into the leadership role, and then how you guys are navigating through the pandemic.
Yeah. So it's October 1st. We had a title change really in our organization, and so Bob gave me the president title, and my older brother Ted became vice president. We were both, our titles were director, previously directors. So Bob is the chairman of the board, and through that transition developed a board structure, and that from a hierarchy standpoint, I report to Bob, and I'll report to Bob every day he comes into work.
Yep.
And my dad is vice chairman, and it's the same. It's that same structure that they have led the business for the past 40 years, and they're going to keep leading it. And yet they're also very willing to transition responsibility and to coach and mentor. They just don't hold this as their personal personal asset. It is something that they've been stewards of, and the expectation now is that they're going to pass that stewardship to Ted and myself. So that we did a title change, and there is responsibility in that, and the responsibilities are changing for me, and it's a interesting journey with the different challenges of 2020. Yet we work with an amazing group of people who make leading a joy and something that is very productive, and that's the it's a process. And so we had on October 1st, it was a title change. The process is ongoing, and that process will continue, Lord willing, for many, many years. And so my older brother too, Ted, is just a perfect complement to me, and we work so well together, and I admire him, and so he's definitely right in the mix with me as we go through this. And maybe I should reverse that and say I'm in the mix with him. He's so talented, and we just, the four of us, love working together, and we cherish these days that we get to work together, and also with a dynamic and talented group of people who are helping lead Walker Manufacturing Company, and ultimately the people who are doing the work to manufacture the Walker mower. Is, like I said, we're a manufacturing organization, and that's the core of who we are. You can't have leaders, you can't have figureheads without an awesome group of people who are accomplishing the work that Walker Manufacturing Company is, and that's we're a manufacturing company. So it's 2020 has been a challenging year, and it's a year that we've been forced to make decisions on a timeline, and so the lack of information, lack of clarity has been challenging, but it's our job to help clarify that for our people and our customers. And we've been working through that, and the company is in a great spot, and we have been able to operate all but 3 weeks this year. We did shut down for 3 weeks, but it's our people came back, and our people have been doing amazing work building Walker mowers, and doing that in a way that is honorable and a joy to be with, a joy to be around.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I think you guys are doing a fantastic job there too. Now moving into some of these last questions that we have before we wrap our time up, do you have any advice for small to medium-sized owners in the lawn or landscaping field? Any advice for as they're growing their business, or as they're going through these uncertain times? I know you talked about informing your employees and keeping that communication open. What are some tips or advice you could give to smaller business owners to continue to thrive during the remainder of 2020 and into the future as well?
The challenges are many, and we're we're going to continue to have, at personal level, at local community levels, we're going to continue to face different types of challenges. And that's going to be something that I think has been around for first, and it's going to continue to happen. Maybe not on a global or country scale, but like through that, I think first and foremost, just tell the truth. More than anything, our word can undermine or build on years and years and years of work. And it's really sad to see someone who is hardworking and diligent, and yet they have a tendency to overpromise, and ultimately that just say what you can do. My grandfather always used to say, he had to say what you can do and do what you say. And that, I think that is the root, that's the foundation for success. Obviously it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and risk. But if you're truthful through it, you can go a long way, and you're not going to have that foundation erode as you build something. And so be honest, be transparent. And with that, if you serve your people, which I think is communication, Stephen, mm-hmm. I think it's that idea of if we serve others, we have a saying, the opportunity to lead depends on serving. It's one of our core principles. So if you serve your customers and if you innovate, I think the challenges are going to be there. They're going to be many, but make sure you keep your priorities in line. And that's something that I think is done through a lot of introspection. And I would encourage you, I didn't write these, but the principles at walker.com, if you go to about us at walker.com, you read through the opportunity abounds principles that we operate by. It's our what we believe statements. It's a pretty good place to start. It's where I start. It's where my grandparents, it's how they lived. It's how Dean and Bob have led this company. And as a third generation family member in this business, the odds are stacked against us from a statistics standpoint when it comes to success of my generation, my leadership in this business. And so the place I start is in our principles. And I would encourage other people to use those same principles, modify them, use them. We don't, quite frankly, they're not even ours. They came from experience. They came from biblical principles. They came from the behavior and the decisions of Max and Margaret Walker and Dean and Bob Walker. And so I take those and modify them, use them. But I think that's a good place to start, is just reading through what Walker Manufacturing Company is and what other businesses are as well. Take that and understand who you are, tell the truth, pursue your customer, and innovate. And I think you'll be all right.
Yeah, that's fantastic. For those of you who are listening now, the majority of you who will watch this after the fact, if you didn't have about 12 takeaways from the last 5 minutes, then you missed it. One of my favorite things that you said that your grandfather taught you, and I actually wrote it down so I can go into my staff meeting after this and relay that, was say what you can do and do what you say. And that's fantastic. And one of the other things you touched on earlier too that I 100% agree with you on is that the core team that's around you as well, right? And when you talk about those principles and where you start every day, I have a good feeling that's where the majority of the rest of your staff, your family, everyone starts their day as well, to come in and do that. And that company culture, that passion, and that team is huge. There's no one person that ever accomplishes anything. especially here at Lawn Buddy. I'm just the guy who has to jump in front of the camera. But what you don't see, those engineers, our admins, our customer reps, all that's making it function. And so building that team, that core culture. If you don't have company principles, if you don't have anything like that, I'd advise you to do exactly what Ryan said. Go to their website and look at it. Their website is probably one of my favorite websites in the industry. As a matter of fact, one of the final things I wanted to touch is well, first I'll say, do you have any other words of wisdom for entrepreneurs who are watching this that even are not in the lawn care industry? What's one takeaway that's helped you on your journey as kind of coming to where you are? What are some nuggets you have for us there?
Yeah, I have been, I think curious people are, I would just encourage entrepreneurs to ask the clarifying question. That curiosity is something that I'm just not the most patient person. And so sometimes sometimes I jump to conclusions. I think another word for that is making assumptions. And both Bob and Ted and Dean, all three of them really, they're very curious people. And it's something that I desire to be. Sometimes my patience gets in the way, but I would just encourage entrepreneurs to ask the clarifying question. Ask that question that you think you know. And even if you do, the process of having someone else answer, that's just good leadership. And I think that will help lead to success. Ask the clarifying question and depend on others for that answer is something, I don't know. It's been something I've been working on in my life, my leadership. Make less assumptions, gain more clarity. Make less assumptions, gain more clarity, and that requires patience and a discipline to be a curious person. Go read Curious George, and he got himself in all kinds of problems, but he's very productive. I have a bunch of young kids, so that's kind of where I hang out these days. Yep. But be curious and gain clarity.
Yep, that's fantastic. Thank you for that. And then I'm kind of touching back on your guys' website. One of my favorite things is that if you go to the leadership section of .com, it kind of gives a bio on everyone. On my way up there, when you read it, I remember we were meeting with Bob, and one of Bob's favorite books it says on there is Lincoln Leadership. And so the entire car ride up, I had an Audible book that I listened to on Lincoln Leadership that put everyone else in the car to sleep, but was really fascinating for me. But on your bio, and I'd love to know if this is still your favorite book for now. It says the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. Is that still your favorite book when you'd recommend?
It is. It's a little bit of an overwhelming book, and just that like every aspect of, he just dissects, I think he dissects servant leadership really well. And that's something that, through his book, through 21 Laws of Leadership, will be a common thread that you find in that book is, what does it mean to actually serve? We throw around servant leadership like it's like the most commonly used leadership principle, yet I think it needs to be dissected and actually meditated on, that it's not as easy as it sounds, and it actually takes a lot of discipline, and it takes a lot of personal desire to lead as a servant. How does that look? What does that look like? Because it's very counterintuitive to what we see modeled in so many of our kind of narcissistic leaders that we have in our society today. So yeah, it's an amazing book, and John Maxwell is an amazing leader and just communicator, author, speaker. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yep. Well, I'm going to do something special for the folks that are watching now and watch this after the fact. I'm buying 10 copies of that book. And anyone who emails me at steven@lawnbuddy.com, gives me a takeaway from this, I will ship you that book so you can kind of gain some of that knowledge as well.
Awesome.
So,
awesome.
I want to thank you for your time, Ryan. I truly appreciate your insight, your friendship, and the advancements you're making for the industry. I truly enjoy talking to you and your family, and thank you so much for everything you do.
What a wonderful time together, and it's been a pleasure, and thank you for the invitation to be on your podcast today. Yeah, we wish you the best, Stephen, and what you're doing with Lawn Buddy and developing your internal team and providing a tool for your customers. And the innovation you're doing is really impressive. And I'm enjoying the journey and our friendship that we've developed. And thanks for having me on this morning.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day. And for everyone who's watching, thank you again so much. We are committed to being your technology partner in every aspect of that word. So with that, thank you all, and have a great day. Hey guys, like I said, great content, great conversation with Ryan Walker. I truly appreciate his friendship and just everything that Walker Mowers is doing for the industry. We're not only your technology partner, but we're committed to bringing you more content like this because we're committed to your success. Next week, we've got a special guest, a really good friend of mine, Scott Hans, with Lawn Life. We're going to be talking about how Scott got started in the green industry, how he built a brotherhood through Lawn Life, and how he is continuing to shake things up in the industry. So we'll see more content about that right here. Make sure you like and subscribe, and be sure to tune in for that conversation. All right, guys, have a good one.